Which preamp will sound best on your toms, API or Neve? Or does it vary based on the size of the drum? Let's hear an objective comparison across my 5 toms and see if we can pick a winner. For the API pre's, we'll be using my 3124 Plus unit with the input pad turned on. For Neve, you'll be hearing my BAE 1084 rack unit. You'll get a quote-unquote truer Neve sound if you use a unit that has an EQ section in it because it'll add more color. In this case, I'm going to flatten the EQ frequency points so that it's only really a preamp comparison, but we'll still be running through that EQ circuitry. Some things you should be listening for. API is usually said to have a really good fast attack, whereas Neve is said to have a really thicker, lower end to it. For both units, their color is more noticeable when you really push them hard, so I'm going to be running them really hot. For the API, I'm going to be pushing it so that it's peaking around plus 18 dB, and then after the preamp, I'm going to be going through a 20 dB pad attenuator before we get to the computer. I'll run the Neve hot as well, only this time I'm also going to use the output trim in addition to that 20 dB pad. For mics, I'll be using a small diaphragm condenser on my 8, 10, 12, and 14-inch toms. For my 16-inch tom, that will get a large diaphragm condenser. Those mics will be going through a standalone phantom power unit into a splitter with one end from each splitter into each of the preamps. Once in the computer, there'll be no other processing on those tracks, not even gates, though my other tracks like my snare will have additional processing. So my first impressions, either the API is emphasizing the highs more or the Neve is emphasizing the low mids more. Either way, there's definitely a difference that you can hear there, especially when you're paying attention to the overtones. Once in the full mix, it's definitely harder to hear a difference unless you're doing some sort of, critical listening experiment. Keep in mind though, I'm not applying any compression to these toms. In a real world example, you're probably going to actually compress them or probably run them through some parallel compression. And once you do any compression on that, it's going to cause the tone of the toms to definitely come out more in the mix. So if I needed to go with a bright as you can get approach, I would go with the APIs. Warmer approach would be with the Neves. If I was trying to match the preamps to the toms, I would definitely go with, APIs high, Neves low. Now, while both of those preamps are great, there are some other things that are more important if you're looking to try to record some epic recording session for your drums. And you can find out more about those critical items right over here or in the description below. Until next time, peace.